We are getting ready for our luncheon, and coming before you is my boss, Dr. Montesumeh Manaharan. He is the Interim Dean Director for the School of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Human Sciences and Extension. And he is here to bring us greetings.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you all? Good. Good. I'm glad you all here, so you brought rain to Pine Bluff. Again, as Ms. Winston said, my name is Manaharan Muthusamy. I am the Interim Dean and Director in the School of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Human Sciences. I know it's a lunchtime, so I don't want to say too much, and I don't want to stand in between you and lunch. All I want to say is I am pleased to welcome you all to our campus. I don't know, you get a chance to visit our campus facilities, please take some time and visit our facilities. We have a great facilities within the School of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Human Sciences. And I know our folks are, outstanding. Probably you all met them, in the Department of Human Sciences, and as well as the Extension folks. And specifically, I am pleased to welcome Dr. Chipley. And I hope her visit to Pine Bluff and UAPB will translate into several $1 million. So, we can try. Once again, I welcome you to UAPB and Pine Bluff. I hope you will have a great day. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Luckett. I will be doing the meditation for a moment for us before we start our lunch. What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. On what peace we often forfeit, or what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Thank you.
Please continue to enjoy your meal. At this time, we will have Dr. Brenda Martin, who is Chair of the Department of Human Sciences here at UAPB, to come forward and introduce our keynote speaker.
Good afternoon. Dr. Alicia Shipley serves as the National Program Leader for the Family and Community Health in the Division of Family and Consumer Sciences, Institute of Youth, Families, and Communities at the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, NINFA. Dr. Shipley provides national program leadership and funding administration for several program portfolios, including military families, child and family development, health and wellness, and family and consumer sciences education. Prior to joining NINFA, Alicia worked at the University of Kentucky with the Family and Consumer Sciences Cooperative Extension and the College of Agriculture Office of Diversity, where she led recruitment and retention initiative for underrepresented students and staff. Dr. Shipley has training as both an educator and a researcher, earning her Bachelor of Science in Family and Consumer Sciences, a Master of Science in Career and Technical Education, and a PhD in Family Studies. She has presented research both nationally and internationally on topics including healthy relationship development, family issues, health, workforce development, and family and consumer sciences. I bring to you Dr. Shipley.
So, good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Martin, for that introduction. I appreciate you and for the invitation to be a part of your state conference. And to Ms. Winston as well, thank you for allowing me to be a part of the conference. And I want to congratulate you in advance and to the conference organizers for a very productive and valuable state conference for this year. It's always a plus for me when I get to visit with fellow FCS family members because we speak the same language and we have the same goals. I want to give greetings on behalf of the National Institute of Food and Agriculture and particularly my unit, the Division of Family Consumer Sciences. I'm honored to be here to be able to highlight such an important topic for our nation's families and communities. But I have to tell you, I don't stand here as an expert on social and emotional health, but rather an FCS professional who understands the profound importance of social emotional health to our society and to our families and communities. I'm also fortunate enough to be in a position to see the power and the diversity and the impact of FCS programming in my work with partners across the country and as well as institutions also. So in that work, I really truly realized that we are champions of all facets of health. So for today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what is social and emotional health. I know at this point we have a pretty good grasp on this. I was there yesterday at the conference, and I know that we talked about it, and we touched on some issues as well today with the experts, with Dr. Austin, who gave a great talk this morning. And then also what we would like to see in our society. What is the desired state? And what are some of the issues that actually prevent people from maintaining sometimes a good social and emotional health? And lastly, some solutions that we can employ or that we're already employing to promote social and emotional health. But before I begin, I want to say that I'm glad to be back here in Pine Bluff. The first time I visited Arkansas was to UAPB. As Dr. Martin mentioned, I used to work in the College of Agriculture at the University of Kentucky doing recruiting. So we came down here for a recruiting trip. I drove from Lexington, Kentucky down here, and I know we drove through some rice fields, I believe, passing through. But of all, I met wonderful students and faculty while I was here, but what I can remember most vividly is the fried catfish that they served us from UAPB's excellent aquaculture program. And so, I was trying to work on getting some before I leave. I don't know if that's going to happen because it really would boost my own social and emotional health. So we're going to see. It's all about self-care, right? So we'll see if I can get some before I leave the city. I'm sorry that I brought the rain. I did not know it was going to thunderstorm today. Let me go ahead and get started. So before I get into the topic, I want to speak just for a moment on primarily what we do in the Division of Family Consumer Sciences in the context of my agency's mission, which is to invest in and advance research, education, and extension to solve societal challenges. When we talk about the agricultural enterprise, when we are developing partnerships, developing programming, consulting with stakeholders, what my FCS colleagues in my division and what we try to encourage our colleagues around the building to do is really convey the message that family consumer sciences, home economics, rural ecology, youth development is a part of the legislative definition of food and agricultural sciences, and we want to make that clear. And the programs that we focus on in my division really reflect we focus on housing, we focus on environmental health, community resource development, family and community health, child and family development, and it really embodies what you see in this image right here. Of course, there is this seedling that kind of represents our food and agricultural enterprise, but there are human hands holding it, which reflects the human and social dimensions of food and agriculture. And our agricultural enterprise would not be as bountiful and as great without attention to the humans that are growing our food and safeguarding our lands, and also attention to the consumers who do consume the goods that come out of our agricultural process. And so our director, Sunny Ramaswamy, always says that our work at the agency lies at the nexus of food and public health. because we pay attention to the soil and the plants and the animals and the air and all of that, but we do have to make sure that our farmers and their families and the public at large is healthy so that everyone can contribute the best that they can to our society. Our director asks us all the time, how are we going to feed 9 billion people by the year 2050? And that is a complex question that doesn't involve just growing food. It is an all hands on deck issue, so family consumer sciences is an important part of that, and health is an important part of that as well. So when we have good health, it really helps us to give our best. And I wanted to share this quote that really resonated with me because it articulates how health contributes to human capital that we have available in our society. And it reads, when health is absent, wisdom cannot reveal itself, art cannot manifest, strength cannot fight, wealth becomes useless, and intelligence cannot be applied. So think about all of the things that we might miss out on when people aren't at their optimal health, right? And so we want to make sure that our programs really promote health in all of its facets. And this is by a notable Greek physician, Herophilus, back way back when. So more simply stated, health is everything. And like my mom would say, as long as I have my health and strength, I have everything. And so in family and consumer sciences, we approach health in a holistic manner because we know that it is truly multifaceted. And to really experience optimal health, we have to focus on all of the dimensions of health and wellness. And because paying too much attention to physical health or environmental health might be at the expense of other dimensions of health, and then we find an imbalance in our own overall health. But for today, we're going to focus on social and emotional health. So, what are we talking about when we, in terms of social health? So social health is really the ability to connect with others, to build relationships, be able to solve conflict appropriately and effectively, and connect to a positive social network. And this dimension really reflects how effective and comfortable we are with forming networks with others and relationships that are based on interdependence, mutual respect, and trust as well. So with emotional health, we talk about a lot about physical health and even mental health as well, but emotional health is not something that we talk about as much in the mainstream, but yet our emotions are absolutely integral to the way we relate and engage with our world. In our adult lives, the relationships between our mind and our emotions is probably the most important relationship that we're going to have over our lifespan. And so emotional health really relates to having a strong sense of self and identifying and articulating a wide range of emotions and being able to manage those emotions in healthy, helpful ways, and being able to cope effectively with stress. So in the past, researchers believed that success made people happy. But newer research reveals that it's the other way around. And actually, happy people are more likely to work towards their goals, to find the resources they need to accomplish their goals, and to attract others with their optimism and with their energy, because those are the key building blocks for success. So what does it look like when everyone has good social and emotional health? What is the desired state? So at the individual level, of course, we want people to be positive. We want them to have a healthy self-awareness, feel efficacious in carrying out their social roles in society, see the glass half full, turn lemons into lemonade. There are always going to be obstacles, but we want people to be able to approach them with the spirit of positivity and personal drive. And we want them to, when there is a mistake or a failure, you want people to be able to say, this setback is a setup for a comeback, right? People probably heard that before. And so, you want them to have an I can do this attitude. And then, who wouldn't want to see this great bunch of people when they go to work or when they go to church or when they go to the places where we play? And they are joy-filled. They're getting along. They are supporting each other. They have a great network. And they are forming relationships, particularly with people that look different from them, that are different, have different backgrounds. This is the goal, right? And so at the, if we branch out a little bit further, at the community level, and as embodied in this picture, we like to see inclusive, equitable, and broad community participation. Collaboration between partners, community members that are engaged, that have the capacity to address the issues that are plaguing them, and that all members feel safe and secure as well. But this is what we would like. But this is our desired state. But the reality for some is that there are lots of different issues and circumstances that do prevent people from having optimal social and emotional health. And I use the terms "we" here because even though these things might not affect us all directly, if something is going on with Dr. Martin, inevitably it's going to affect my friends here at this table at some point, indirectly or directly. So it's better that we, look at things with a collective "we" instead of kind of in groups and silos. So we are disconnected, and so I use the term disconnected. I put disconnected in parentheses because we are so connected all of the time. I have 2 phones over there. I have a computer in my bag, and in homes across the country, in classrooms, wherever, you see people like this, but they're connected to other people, right? But sometimes the technology, a downside of it is that it can interfere with the meaningful connections that we need to make to establish good social health. There are various forms of violence that we experience in our homes and communities, chronic stressors, and people often lack the resources that are necessary and sufficient to just meet their basic needs. We have issues with poverty, issues with hunger, issues with community violence, and kind of disconnected and disintegration in communities. And so some other issues that I wanted to call attention to is that some people are just sad, right? Depression is a big issue, and other mental health challenges in the U.S. are very high. The U.S. stands out as one of the world's nations for having the highest amount of people with major depressive disorder. And so an estimated 16.2 million people, or 6.7% of the population, have had at least one major depressive episode in their life. And depression has increased significantly from the year 2000 to 2015. And it continues to increase for lots of groups. So the oldest and youngest groups in our population, non-Hispanic white persons, the lowest income group, the highest education and income groups. And so basically that's a lot of people. It's probably, not many groups that were left out. So these are issues that we have to deal with that do, affect one's social and mental health. So on the flip side, one of the other emotions that people have, or they want to have, is happiness. So when we look at, there's a report that comes out every year, the World Happiness Report. We just celebrated the International Day of Happiness on March the 20th, and there are certain measures that how they measure these. It's a group of scholars and individuals who actually put together this report, and our countries are based on the per capita gross domestic product, feelings of generosity, social support, healthy life expectancy, social freedom, and the absence of corruption, the perceived absence of corruption. And so the U.S. is ranked 18, and this is out of 155 countries. And actually, our rates of happiness have gone down. So in 2016, we were 13th, and in 2017, we were 14th. So this past year, we dropped 4 places. And so you can imagine that is a really interesting phenomena, because we are the wealthiest country, or one of the wealthiest countries in the world, but yet a lot of people are unhappy. It's called the Easterling Complex. or paradox. So it's supposed to be that when your resources and your economy expands, that everybody's supposed to be happier, but the opposite is happening here in the U.S. Another issue affecting social and emotional health is family instability, right? And divorce, and often the circumstances leading to divorce, contribute to family instability. And so today, and you'll see different statistics around divorce, but the lifetime risk of divorce right now is between 42 and 45%. And the reason that I wanted to highlight divorce is because the state with the highest divorce rate is Arkansas. How many of you all knew that? Yes. 23.4 divorces per every 1,000 married people. In Newport, does anybody in here know where Newport is? That is the city with the highest divorce rate. Yes. But on the flip side, Arkansas has the 5th highest marriage rate, which may be why people are getting a divorce. But it is something to look into and explore. Now, divorce can be positive in many circumstances for all members involved, but no matter the marital status, family instability and kind of the processes that go into that can contribure to the adverse childhood experiences that we've talked about. I know that there is the ACEs quiz inside the folder that you received, where there's lots of those situations that can occur because of family instability, and so it's important for us to make sure that our families do know how to get along with each other and that they are approaching marriage in very healthy ways. And so if you watch the news on any given day, you can see people organizing around issues because there are people that are feeling chronically ignored or disrespected or undervalued or fearful or misunderstood for a variety of reasons. And often these experiences have led them to the streets in cities across the U.S. And experiencing these issues that are significant to those groups of people that are involved can have an impact to a great degree on one's social and emotional health and how you interact with people that are not a part of the groups that you are a part of. So that is another issue that we are confronting right now, a lot of movements around social issues that we need to pay attention to. And everyone in here knows we are in the throes of a public health emergency due to the opioid epidemic. Drug overdoses killed almost 64,000 people in 2016, and nearly 2/3 of those deaths were related to opioid abuse, prescription or illicit opioids. And so the effect of this epidemic is far-reaching. There's a burden on the child welfare system, burden on families. There's a number of grandparents who are having to raise grandchildren and other caregivers having to take in relatives. And in rural areas, the consequences are particularly stark because of limited resources that are in rural areas, and they're being, overburdened. And in rural areas, the number of deaths is higher than in urban areas as well. So actually at my agency, I manage our rural health and safety education grant. And last year and this year, thankfully, we were funded in the omnibus bill to fund programs and approaches that do work to reduce or prevent opioid abuse in rural communities. And actually in Arkansas, the University of Arkansas Extension, there is a grant that was funded in FY17 to actually look at alternative strategies for pain management for those who have chronic pain disorders, and really looking at how you can reduce or eliminate the need for opioids, and through things like mindfulness and stress management and yoga and Tai Chi and stretching and things like that. And I was actually fortunate enough to be able to do a site visit in Malvern, Arkansas on Wednesday to really see. It was the first day that the program was being implemented. They are implementing a chronic self-management program for pain. And it was really interesting to hear the participants talk about the pain issues that they're going through. There were people with neuropathy and fibromyalgia, people with injuries. One woman had fibromyalgia and she got hit by a car in her beauty shop. It ran through, the car actually ran into her beauty shop, so she's dealing with that. And so being able to have those strategies is very helpful in situations like that. I know that some of you may have seen this. There's a video of a woman in Connecticut, a mom who had passed out in the store with her young daughter. And the video is horrifying because the little girl is crying. She's picking up her mom's arm, saying, "Wake up." Her mom is just totally, she has passed out because she had an overdose of an illicit opioid. And so there's so many pictures like this of people passed out in cars or out in the street and all of that. And we're really trying to address the opioid epidemic. And I feel like one of the strengths of Family and Consumer Sciences is that we do actually promote protective factors and reduce risk factors that kind of lead to folks maybe engaging in substance abuse behaviors. In Arkansas, I have to add that most of the counties here, their rate of prescribing opioids is higher than the national average. So 66 out of the 75 counties here have rates higher than the national average. So it is an issue there, and there are also a lot of, I think Arkansas might rank 6th in terms of those with pain management disorders, which is one of the reasons the project director, Lisa Washburn, wanted to do the project on pain management strategies. So, surprise, surprise, FCS has been a part of the solution for over 100 years now. Because I gave you all a lot of bad news, kind of, but this is good news because we're all here, we're all able-bodied, about to go do some more work. But, one of the things that we are able to provide is the content and the programs to build strong, resilient families, and also to help them develop essential skills, not to just survive in society, but thrive as well. And I really believe that what we do is at the core of social and emotional health, particularly the fact that we provide education, and it is a good fit for social and emotional health, particularly what we can do in non-clinical settings in just terms of education about social and emotional health. So this is my acronym, because of course when you do a keynote you have to have an acronym as well, right? So we connect, we optimize, we reach, and we empower. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I put the definition of each of these words on the slide just to convey that these are very simple processes and actions, but they are very, very, very powerful in terms of implementation. So connect, really, to bring together, bring into contact so that a link is established. So promote, one of the things that I feel like would help a lot of people with their social health is really understanding how to develop and maintain a healthy relationship, particularly romantic relationships. I just gave you all a quote about the divorce rate in Arkansas, and I was talking to the family life specialist at University of Arkansas Extension, and she also had mentioned the need for relationship education, particularly among youth who may not have models for healthy relationships. And luckily, because I'm also a relationship educator, I was trained in a lot of youth relationship education curricula, and so I'm an advocate for healthy relationships. Luckily, we have so much research on what it takes to maintain a healthy relationship and what is appropriate for youth in relationships as well. And there's actually an institute called the Dibble Institute that has a number of evidence-based curricula for youth relationship education. And I was talking to Ms. Winston, and she said that there's a program here called Access where they work with teen moms and dads, if they are participating as well, to do parenting education. And one of the questions that I asked her, I said, oh, well, do they do relationship education as well, right? And she said, maybe not. So there's an opportunity right there, right? I know that Love Notes and Relationship Smarts are very great programs to implement. Love Notes particularly with teen parent populations, and I can talk more about that afterwards. And I think it's particularly important because another statistic that I found out is that Arkansas has the highest teen birth rate in the United States as well. So there is a real opportunity for there to be some relationship education, because although sex might not always be in a romantic relationship, it does occur within the context of a relationship. So it's very important to make sure that particularly our young people understand what a healthy relationship looks like. And then also, one of the things that is very important that we can do just in any type of program or setting or intervention that's going on is to facilitate social connectedness and community engagement throughout the lifespan. Social networks are very important to your health. For young people and for older people, the quantity of your social network is important, how many friends you have. And then when you're kind of in middle age, 30 to about 55 or so, the quality of your relationships is really important, your friendships. One of the reasons that social connectedness is important is because it builds community resilience. When there's a quote, or not a quote, but a statistic about getting on an elevator, and if no one speaks within like 3 seconds, you're not going to talk at all. And a lot of people today, they don't know their neighbors. Actually, when you get on the elevator, you might go like this. Well, in DC, there's lots of apartment buildings here, but just say hello, know your neighbor, because when a disaster strikes, then what happens? And it's just better. It builds community capacity to respond. And you never know what a neighbor might need, in terms of getting out, and if there's someone who's disabled or, things like that. And it's one of the things that we focus on in our division with our programs that we have around community resource and economic development is community cohesion. So the next part of the core is to optimize. So we are all operating in the context of doing more with less, even in DC. But we can make the best use of the situations and the opportunities that we do have to build a social and emotional health. One of the things that we can do is program delivery models that promote emotional intelligence. So it's not necessarily a program, it's just how you interact with your participants, how you encourage them to interact with each other. So the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence actually has a program called Ruler that you can use with youth inside of school settings, inside of after school settings, to actually promote emotional intelligence. And it's not necessarily a program, but it's just how you are teaching your participants to interact with each other. And if anyone goes to the conference in Atlanta this summer, the director of the school, of the Center for Emotional Intelligence, is going to be one of the keynotes, and she's going to talk more about those frameworks and models to promote emotional intelligence. And then another thing is to supplement programs with boosters promoting social and emotional intelligence. So I know that some of my colleagues here do nutrition education. So is there a way to include a 1-hour booster on managing stress? I was talking to the family life specialist in Little Rock. Was that yesterday? No, it was Wednesday. It seems so far away. On Wednesday, and she said that they have available a 1-hour module on managing stress that you can just add to a program. You have those opportunities to promote this, take them where you have a captive audience as well. And the next part of the core is to reach, and it simply means to stretch out, right? And what I mean by that is being able to reach out to underserved or never served populations and organizations. If I only reach out to my friend Joshua right here and the folks at this table, and I give them all the education that they need, what about my friends over here? You know, they're gonna miss out, right? And like I said earlier, what they do here is going to affect you all. So why don't we all just make sure that we're reaching out to the most populations that we can as appropriate, and making sure that we provide access and awareness to programs as well. You know, we are in an opioid epidemic, right? Opioid overdoses and misuse and abuse have increased, but an interesting thing is that cocaine overdoses have increased far higher than opioid overdoses, but we don't necessarily talk about those. But those families and those folks who are struggling with that, we also need to make sure that we provide prevention education for them as well, and family life education, even in the recovery piece, because people still need nutrition education, they still need family life education, they still need to know how to interact with their family members and with the public in healthy ways. And then also reaching individuals and families, of course, with programs that are culturally responsive, and while still paying attention to fidelity and fit, and making sure that it's still an evidence-based approach even when we do adapt programs, because one size does not fit all for everything. So you really have to know the culture and how to reach people in the language and in the ways that they understand to be most effective. And the last one, part of the core, is to empower. And that basically means to give somebody the authority to do something. And here, we're giving people the power and the information and what they need to thrive, the agency that they need to actually do the things that they need to do for their lives to take care of their families. So we need to provide educational opportunities to build social and emotional literacy. One of the things I was talking to with my friends at this table was something called, there's a subclinical disorder. It's not an actual diagnosable disorder, but nevertheless it is important. It's called alexithymia. Does anyone know what that is besides you all? Alexithymia. It is being able to identify and articulate how you're feeling, and a lot, like the inability to do so. And so there are millions of people, if you ask them how they're feeling, they can't really say. And this condition, so to speak, has been linked to a lot of health disorders. Hypertension, migraines, poor pain control, sleep problems. Because can you imagine having something wrong with you and not being able to articulate it well, what it is that you're feeling? And that can cause a lot of stress. So even outside of a clinical setting, we can teach people, you know, about behavioral literacy, behavioral health literacy, and being able to have the language to talk about their feelings and their emotions. And then to also promote self-care and mindfulness. One of the things that I definitely think should be when I do relationship education courses and workshops is that you have to be able to take care of yourself. You have to be able to manage threats to your own emotional, social, sexual well-being. And so that is something that we definitely have to promote within our programs. And then once also that we're able to articulate how it is that we're feeling, to teach mindfulness, to teach like, okay, this is what's going on, this is how I'm feeling. And there are actually programs, evidence-based programs out there right now to teach mindfulness. And the Dibble Institute that I mentioned actually has a program that they're doing trainings on right now called Mind Matters. And it's actually teaching emotional intelligence and mindfulness and how to deal with traumatic experiences to youth. So those are programs that we can definitely take advantage of. And to also, and this is something that's free, to foster hope and resilience in individuals and families and communities. There is a researcher that I actually sit on a working group of child abuse and neglect, and she's a big advocate for hope and how hope is a psychological resource that can really help you even in the adverse of circumstances. So being able to build hope, whether it is through peer mentorship, adult mentorship, just plain old encouragement will help really foster resilience and hope in families and communities. And what she says, she's like, hope still matters. So I do want to, you've probably seen this before, but I want to show you hope and resilience in action. So, when I saw that little girl, I was so happy for her. I said, yes. So, I mean, that is hope and resilience in action. She saw that she was going to make it and get up there. And every time that she fell down, she got back up. Now, I don't speak the same language as her coach, but I'm going to assume he said something positive to her, right? And so, to help her, so there goes that adult, mentorship and coaching and encouragement that inspired that resilience in her to get to the end. So I wanted to show you all that in action because that's really what we would like to see in people. So I just want to leave you with this, that I really truly believe that we empower people to be champions inside and out. So thank you for what it is that you all do, and thank you for having me here at your conference.
Well, on behalf of the Arkansas affiliate of the American Association of Family Consumer Science, we just like to present you with a little gift from us and from the Department of Human Sciences here at UAPB.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.